Welcome to my kitchen on a Sunday. Today I'm going to show you how to make a healthy smoothie. At the moment, with all the being stuck indoors, it's really important that we try and get some nutrition inside us, and this is a really simple way to do that. So first of all, let me show you the tools you're going to need. I've got a NutriBullet, which is I'm sure you're all familiar with, and there are lots of different types of those, which are really easy. But if you can't afford one of those, then most people would have one of these handmade whisks that you can also use, that usually come with a sort of a little pot, and you can also make them that way. But if you're going to do this long term, I'd suggest that you definitely invest in one of these. It just makes things a lot simpler. So smoothies can be made up of anything, but there's a few sort of simple rules that will make it more tasty. And the first thing is always to have some kind of fat in there, and the reason for that is that will help with the uptake of your vitamins. And also to use coconut water is a really nice option. You'll need some sort of liquid in there to make it, just to make it not so thick. But you can also use water or a mix of coconut water and normal water, but use a filter jug, that's usually the best thing. And then on top of that, I always like to put some nuts and seeds in there, and you can see I've got a mix, a combination. I've got pumpkin, I've got sunflower, some flax seeds, which are particularly good if you're a sort of menopausal, premenopausal woman. Brazil nuts, you could use any type of nuts, depending if you've got any allergies, of course. Some chia seeds, and they just put some extra goodness into the smoothie. Now, fruit-wise, you want to have something as a thickener, and the best things for that are either bananas or avocados. Both of them will give it a nice creamy, a bit like a thick milkshake consistency. And with bananas, they're so easily available in all the supermarkets, even now. You can buy a big bunch of them, and in actual fact, if they're starting to go a bit brown, you can peel them and put them in the freezer, and they work perfectly well straight from the freezer into your smoothie. So for today's smoothie, I'm going to make one of my favourites, which is banana and kiwi. Kiwi's really high in vitamin C. Vitamin C I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute, but obviously that's really good for helping your immune system, particularly at the moment. And I've got the kiwi, and then the other really important ingredient, you should also always include some berries, because berries are really high in antioxidants, and again, really good for boosting your immune system. So rather than buying fresh ones, they tend to be quite expensive. I buy from the freezer department some raspberries, and I've got blueberries in here, but you can buy any frozen fruit. They come ready, chopped up and ready to go. You can keep them in your freezer, and they're always there. I use about a cupful here to go in with my smoothie. And the final thing I always like to put in is a little bit of fat, as I said. Now, because I'm not using the avocado, there's no real fat in it apart from the nuts and the seeds. So I will use a tiny bit of coconut oil, and you can get this very cheaply these days. You don't need to use very much, and it might sound a bit weird, but it really does help with the uptake. When your body's trying to absorb all those nutrients, a bit of fat in there will help your body absorb those nutrients. So let's put this together. It's very simple to do. Obviously, I'm making this for 2 people, and you can keep it for later. So if you want to make one to this recipe, you can halve the recipe if you're only doing it for yourself, but it does keep in the fridge. So I've got some ice in here already, a bit of ice, and that helps. That's also an extra liquid to go in there, but it also helps churn it all up in the when it's being mixed together. We've got some banana. I've got a ready peeled kiwi fruit. I'm just going to chop that in half like that, pop that in. The berries go in. There they go. See, it's already quite full. So you don't want to try and overload it. There is a maximum. I think I might put a bit too much ice in there today. Brazil nuts, I'm going to put 3 in. There we go. A few golden linseeds. I've nearly run out, so I have to go and get some more of those. And these are all things that I've still been able to find in the supermarkets. You might have to look for them a little bit more, or shop around a bit. So I'll put a few of those in, maybe just a handful, just a sprinkle of each. Put them in there like that. There we go. I'm not going to bother with the chia today. Try and mix and match. Try and do a different one every day. It makes it more interesting. Then I've got a little bit of coconut oil, and you see I'm just putting in like half a teaspoon there. There we go. And then there's one other thing before I put the coconut water in, is that you might want to consider, particularly at the moment while we're all self-isolating, is vitamin C. I've talked about it already. We've got vitamin C in the fruit, but you can actually buy it in bulk. You can actually buy it in a powder form, and I've actually used this stuff. It actually comes, it says vitamin C powder, but when you order it, it's often ascorbic acid, and that's what you want. And in this one, you see it says it's 100% vitamin C powder. You can see that, and it gives you an idea of the sort of serving. So half a teaspoon is 1,000 milligrams. So I'm going to put in, which is a gram. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a teaspoon, more than just about a teaspoon, and that will just make sure. So I'm just going to put that much in there, like that, just goes in there, and now we're good to go. So we just put some coconut water in to make it, to sort of loosen it all up a bit. There we go, probably about a cupful. You can always add more if it's too thick. And now this is the noisy bit, so that all goes in like that. That's switched on. Okay, so this, you might want to step back a bit for this because it's quite, do you see it's all in here? This is going to be quite noisy. Stop it there because I know that's very noisy. Just have a look at it, because you've got seeds in there. I mean, not everybody likes them, and the nuts, they can be a bit bitty, so you might want to strain it a little bit. I tend to use the whole thing because it's all the best goodness. And if you try it and it's a little bit too thick, then you can add more liquid. So this one looks, I don't think you can see that, it looks quite thick. I'm actually going to put a little bit more coconut water in. In fact, I might just put some normal water in. Because coconut water is quite expensive. I usually wait till it's on special offer and then buy 2 or 3, keep them in the fridge. So I'm actually going to put a little bit more in there. And you don't even need to put the noisy machine back on for this. You can just do that, and that should be fine. Okay. Now you can put extra ice in if you want, but this is actually quite cold now because we've put ice in with it. And I do recommend you put in ice when you are doing it. And here we go. You see, that's quite a thick one. There we go. I've actually made 2, but I'll just pour that one out for now. And that is your perfect start to the day.